Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're getting into the literal mechanics of human biology. Specifically, we're tackling the absolute biggest misconception out there about how muscle is actually built. Look, we all see people grinding away day after day, right? Sweating, struggling, but completely misunderstanding the very foundation of how their bodies adapt. Well, we're going to completely rewire how you think about your physical progression. We're breaking down the exact science of tension, timing, and the real truth about your recovery.
So where do muscles actually grow? I want you to honestly think about this for a second. Picture the literal physical building of new muscle tissue taking place. Where exactly are you when that happens? Are you mid-rep? Are you standing in front of the mirror under a heavy bar, completely out of breath?
Well, the reality is abruptly clear, not in the gym. In fact, you don't build any muscle at the gym. You literally only break it there. The actual building, that happens afterward. It happens while you're sitting at your desk staring at a spreadsheet or while you're fast asleep in your bed doing absolutely nothing. The data from the source material shows that most people are completely screwing up this off-the-clock part of the equation, mostly because they fundamentally misunderstand what the gym actually does in the first place.
Which brings us to Chapter 1, the tension trigger. Let's look at the biological reality of what happens inside our bodies when we lift heavy loads.
To understand why the gym just breaks muscle, we have to look down at the cellular level. This directly challenges that age-old, no pain, no gain mentality we all grew up with. Here's what's actually happening. When you train, your brain sends a signal, motor neurons fire, and your muscle fibers contract. Make the load heavy enough, and your body is forced to recruit the bigger fibers, the ones with actual growth potential. Now, as those fibers physically deform under that heavy load, especially while they're lengthening, they trigger a vital molecular signal called mTRC1. Think of this signal as essentially hiring a construction crew. It's screaming at your body to start building new protein to make bigger fibers. And that, right there, is the biological definition of hypertrophy.
To really back this up, check out this definitive quote from a 2025 review out of McMaster University. And by the way, they're widely recognized as one of the top sports science programs in the entire world. They state, "Your muscle doesn't need to be torn to grow, it just needs to be loaded." I mean, this is massive for how we structure our training. It absolutely proves that tension, not damage, does the heavy lifting. You don't need to obliterate your muscle tissue, you just need to apply the precise mechanical stress required to trigger that mTRC1 signal.
And this brilliantly illustrates the fundamental difference between soreness and tension. Soreness is essentially just inflammation. It's your body's cleanup crew. Tension, on the other hand, triggers mTORC1, the actual builders, the growth signal. So that soreness you've been eagerly chasing? Yeah, that's just your body cleaning up the mess you made. It is not a growth signal. Just think about it. Marathon runners are absolutely destroyed and deeply sore for a whole week after a long race, right? But they don't come back with massive muscular legs. Why? Because they created a ton of damage, sure, but they didn't create the right kind of tension.
Moving on to Chapter 2, the 48-hour growth window. Timing is everything.
We really need to shift our focus to the extreme urgency of this timing. Because if you're waiting a full week between training the same muscle group, you are actively wasting your biological potential. Let me walk you through this timeline step by step so you can see exactly why. At 0 hours, your workout begins. Fast forward to 24 hours, and boom, you hit peak muscle protein synthesis. The actual building process is at its absolute maximum. But look at what happens at the 48-hour mark. You are basically back to baseline. The window is closed. Growth is complete. If you still have lingering soreness at 72 hours, well, that's just the cleanup crew still mopping the floors, while the construction crew already packed up and went home on day 2. So if you train pull-ups on a Monday and wait until next Monday to touch your back again, your muscles grew for 2 days and then just sat there completely dormant for 5.
Now, what's really interesting about this next data point is the sheer capacity of your muscles. Based on our source material, your muscles can actually handle about 40% more force on the lowering phase of an exercise, which is known as the eccentric phase, than they can on the lifting phase. Just picture the descent of a dip, or lowering yourself down from a pull-up. That lowering portion is exactly where the physical tension is highest, and it's where that crucial mTORC1 signal gets hit the hardest.
But let's be honest, how do most people handle that lowering phase? Usually like a rushed commute between reps. They drop down super fast, pull back up, and proudly count the rep. But your muscle cared most about the exact part you just rushed through. You have got to slow that descent down. 3 seconds minimum. Stop rushing the commute. If you apply a slow, strict, 3-second lowering phase to every single rep of every single set, the sheer amount of tension you accumulate is going to radically change your results.
This brings us to Chapter 3, saboteurs, sleep, and fuel. Because lifting is only part of the story.
Let's broaden the narrative from just lifting weights to your overall human biology. Because frankly, hitting the perfect 3-second eccentric means absolutely nothing if hidden lifestyle factors are quietly sabotaging your hard-earned gains behind the scenes. And this is a stark, unavoidable warning. Minus 18%. That is exactly how much muscle protein synthesis drops after just one single night of bad sleep. I really want to emphasize that. We're not talking about a week of bad sleep, just one single night. You successfully triggered the growth signal in the gym, but then you completely denied your body the environment it desperately needs to actually execute the build.
And what if that bad habit stretches into a full week? 7 days of sleeping just 5 hours a night drops your testosterone by a staggering 10 to 15%. To put the severity of that into perspective, the source explains that this is the exact same hormonal decline you would expect from aging a full 10 years. It's wild. You are artificially aging your body's recovery system by an entire decade, all in just 7 days of poor sleep.
The real-world impact of this is truly shocking. Researchers conducted a study where two groups ate the exact same diet in the exact same calorie deficit. The absolute only difference was how much they slept. And the results? The sleep-deprived group lost 60% more muscle and 55% less fat. Let that sink in for a second. Same exact food, radically different physical results. You can track your calories down to the gram, but if you sleep 6 hours and doom scroll your phone until 1 a.m., you are literally burning your own muscle instead of fat. Sleep is half of the recovery equation, period.
And the other half of that recovery equation? It's protein and fuel. And unfortunately, most people are getting this wrong too. Studies show people underestimate their food intake by up to 50%. You might think you're eating 2,000 calories, but you're actually eating 3,000. Or conversely, you think you're getting enough protein and you are drastically short. Remember that mTORC1 signal we talked about? It tells your body to build, but it desperately needs raw materials to do it. If your protein is off, you basically paid a premium for a construction crew, but completely forgot to order the bricks. Absolutely nothing gets built.
The source material highlights a highly effective tool designed to solve this exact intake tracking problem, the MacroFactor Nutrition app. Now, what's unique here is that it doesn't just passively track your food. It actively learns how your body's responding and adjusts your targets every single week based on your changing metabolism. So if your metabolism shifts up or down, the plan dynamically moves right along with it. It also features photo logging, so you just snap a picture of your plate to easily calculate your macros. It's a fantastic tool, and for those wanting to test it out, the source notes you can use the code YELLOWDUDE for a free 14-day trial.
All right, Chapter 4, the ultimate growth formula. Let's move to this and see how it all builds together. We've broken down the molecular signals, the importance of timing, the physical movement mechanics, and the massive impact of lifestyle saboteurs. Bringing all this science together gives us a final actionable blueprint. Step 1. Progressive overload. And remember, this doesn't just mean doing endless reps of the exact same thing. It means progressing to harder variations, or maybe adding a weighted vest. You need increasing tension over time. Step 2. 3-second eccentrics. Slow down that lowering phase, where the muscle is under the most productive load. Step 3. Track your macros and protein. You absolutely have to feed the crew the raw materials. And finally, Step 4. Sleep a minimum of 7 hours. Because this isn't just a general wellness tip, guys. It is quite literally the physical space where your growth happens.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Are you actually building muscle, or are you just getting sore? The next time you limp out of a session thinking you absolutely crushed it, I want you to realize that the crushing part is over. The entire game, the actual building process, happens in the 48 hours after you leave. Don't waste those 48 hours